Welcome to the Unspoken Truth. It's Friday here in Sydney. Happy Friday. G'day, Ed. How you doing, mate?
G'day, Robbie. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm really excited. Had a big day recording yesterday. Got a nice monologue off my chest yesterday, Tucker Carlson style, and I'm looking forward to doing a few of those. Did you manage to see it?
I did see it, and it was brilliant. We were talking about that off camera, and I was joking with Rob that he pulled an Ed Anderson because he worked on that video for quite a long time. And you guys only see the final product, but
there's a lot of effort that goes into these things. I was inspired by Tucker Carlson back on Twitter. His little tag is Tucker on Twitter, and then he's there and he does a 10-minute monologue, and I'm like, how did he get 90 million views? He spoke for 10 minutes. I thought I could do that. And it's like, yeah, man, it'll take you all day. Good luck with that, you moron.
You got to hand it to the guy. Apparently he did it all in one take, in one straight shot.
Yeah, well, I was thinking to myself, what's the difference between me and Tucker Carlson? Well, first of all, he's already, got a name for himself because he's been on television for such a long time. But then equally, he's been doing it for 30 years. And I watched him on a behind-the-scenes interview once, and he was saying that he doesn't watch TV and he doesn't have social media. But he does have a bunch of people around him, and they're like, what about this? What about this? What about this? And he takes those things and goes, oh, well, that's pretty interesting. I can see how that ties to that. And then he's like a master at joining all of those things together and then overlaying his own little funny nuances to it as well. I love it, man. It's a work of art every time he does one of those monologues.
Well, he has a background as an editor. He ran that magazine. I can't think of the name. He ran that magazine, the conservative magazine, for an awful long time. So he has an editor's background. So
that helps. I don't have an editor's background in anything. I can barely edit a video, never mind my own monologues.
Yeah, well, I've been editing for 3 years, and I still don't get it.
You still haven't got your first video out.
Yeah.
It's a mission to get there.
I mean, I've joked, so I've been doing my YouTube channel now for 3 years. And for those of you who think that my videos are bad now, you should go back and watch the first one. But really bad. So,
there's a lot of YouTube experts out there that will tell you, look, it doesn't matter about the quality of your video, your production value doesn't matter. All that matters is the content is good. And I agree with that to a point, but at some point you have to start investing in the production value of it, right? And it does take some effort and time to do that.
Girls in bikinis. That's what we need, Rob.
That's what we need, man. I'm not getting my shirt off anytime soon, that's for sure. If we do, we'll lose the audience completely. Anyway, all good. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Unspoken Truth. I'm your host, Rob Bruss, and I'm joined by my fabulous co-host, Ed Anderson, there in Minnesota. We're live at 5:30 a.m. Sydney time every day and 2:30 p.m. Minnesota time. So it's great to have you here. We've got a couple of people on the live stream already. Welcome. Why don't you drop a comment there in the comments for us and let us know where you're dialing in from. And if you've got any questions about what we're going to be talking about today as you're listening in, make sure you drop us those questions as well, and we'll do our best to cover off those points for you. We're also available as a podcast over on Spotify and Apple or whatever podcasting app that you choose. You can find us over on The Unspoken Truth. Just search for that, and you can always get some in your ears if you can't watch the video. It's uploaded as a video in Spotify as well, so if you want to catch it on the go and you're not listening on YouTube or some other platform, you can get it there. We're also over on Twitter, and I see us getting a couple of new followers every day. We're starting to get a little bit of momentum there. The algorithm seems to be showing our content a little bit more, and I'm engaging there. We're also over on Telegram. Just a word of warning, folks. Yesterday's monologue that I put out there was related to war crimes. There's a segment in there related to war crimes, and I reference a couple of videos in the Telegram channel related to war crimes. They're covered, so that has like a grey and white spinny thing on the front of it, so you can't see the videos, and I've put a warning on the front of it there. So if you go into the channel and you have a look at that, and you click on that, just be careful, folks. You can never unsee those things that are inside of those videos. And in the monologue that I referenced yesterday, I was talking about war crimes and the government not actually doing anything about it, the mainstream media being completely silent on it. But I can show you dozens and dozens of those types of videos. I only put 2 in the channel yesterday because, it's a bit much. You don't want to be seeing too much of that. I'm pretty desensitized to all of those sorts of things. So for me, it's kind of like, yeah, okay, whatever. War has been something that's part of my life for a very long time, but it's still shocking content. So it comes with a warning, folks. If you come over to Telegram and you see those things, just be careful what you click on, okay? Because I don't want you to be traumatized by that. But at the same time, I also want you to see the truth. I want you to see the truth of the Ukrainian war crimes, and I also want you to see the truth of the Russian war crimes as well. I think it's important to actually know that and to see that as well. Okay, on today's show, we're going to talk about some truth, and the truth is digital IDs are here and they're being rolled out, and we're going to talk about the tyranny of digital IDs and some of the things that are contained within them, including your medical records and what you can and can't do to cross borders, and how the WHO is going to try and control the world through this stupid system. It doesn't make any sense that these unelected, incompetent morons are in charge, and they'll do anything that they can to hold on to power. We're going to shift gears towards the end of the show and have a little bit of a laugh. I'm going to talk about some Biden corruption that's actually been exposed. We've got a couple of reports, one from a couple of days ago, and Marjorie Taylor Greene came out just earlier this morning, well, my time, or afternoon, your time there in the States, and had a look at the documents inside of a skiff, and she gives us a little bit of a report on that and talks about some of the Biden corruption that we now know is actually real. And also, folks, in case you missed it this week, aliens are real. And by the way, they landed in Nevada yesterday. And I'm not joking. I'm not mucking around. We've got the police body cam footage to show you that aliens have actually landed in Nevada. And there was some big, tall, 10-foot aliens with big eyes. And there was black SUVs circling. I'm not joking. That's actually what happened.
Okay, this is news to me, so I'm curious.
All right,
when you mentioned that, my guess was there was a Comic-Con convention, but
yeah, when you're talking about Nevada, right?
Yeah, Las Vegas anyway. All right, so yeah, I'm curious about that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Ed, have you got any opening remarks as we're coming to the end of the week here? It's been a crazy week in news, man. So much has been going on. What are your thoughts so far about this crazy week?
Yeah, it seems like every week that we do this, we have crazy weeks. These are crazy times that we are living in right now. Yeah, shout out to everyone in the Hey Ed WhatsApp group and on the Hey Ed YouTube channel. We do stream now on the Hey Ed YouTube channel. So, hey guys, if you haven't subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button for both the Hey Ed YouTube channel and for the Unspoken Truth. Please join us. Please give us a likes because it does help the algorithm. And for those of you who are watching, please give us a comment during the show. Let us know you're there.
Ed, I had a really good chat with my mum yesterday. Susie had a video that she had to do here, and she's like, "Can you just get out while I record that video?" I'm like, "What, you don't like me listening to your videos over there?" So I went up the road to my mum because she just lives up the street, and went and had a cup of coffee with her, and she's like, "Oh my God, Ed, you and Ed are so great. You're so fantastic." And I'm like, I'm going to take it with a grain of salt because my mum, right? She loves me, and she'll only ever say good things. But she's like, "Wow, that Ed guy, he's so good. But tell him to curb the acronyms, will you? I don't understand all the acronyms." I said, "Which one don't you understand? BRICS or the trading ones, or which one is it?" And I went through them all for her, and she was like, "Oh, every time I listen to you guys, I learn something." And Ed talks in too many acronyms. So I thought I'd give you that little bit of feedback. And hi, Mum, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate your support.
Well, thank you for that, Mrs. Bruss. That's a very kind word. I appreciate that. Very, very nice.
Yeah, I'll take the compliment wherever it comes from. Doesn't matter if it's my mum.
Amen, brother. Yeah.
Amen. All right, folks, you might have seen over the last couple of days, this idiot Tedros has come out and he's talking about digital IDs. So we've got a little video here. We're going to do the reaction style video. It only goes for a minute, but listen very closely to what this guy says. He's the person who was in charge of all of the responses to the worldwide flu. And he's the person who's been appointed by the CCP to be in charge of the one world government. Imagine if this guy was actually in charge of the one world government. I think he'd last about 20 seconds. He's incompetent, actually, when you see how he behaves. Have you got some thoughts on this guy?
Yeah, well, yeah. I just want to let you know, I would make a fantastic one world government leader. So I want to throw my hat in the ring for that. Yeah.
It's a really great show on Netflix. I don't know why I liked it so much, man. It's based on history. It's called How to Be a Dictator. And it goes through all of the dictators in history. It talks about Saddam Hussein, talks about Gaddafi and all of these like really bad people. But it says, you've got to be a man of the people. That's the first thing that you've got to do. And they're all out shaking hands with everybody and, being a man of the people. This guy would never work as a dictator because he's simply not a man of the people. He's actually a moron. And people that see him will go, oh my God, this guy again. Let's take a look at this video and have a little bit of a laugh at this idiot, although it's a pretty serious topic.
Emergency phase of the COVID-19 pandemic is now over. Investments in digital infrastructure remain an important resource for health systems and for economies and societies at large. Like many countries, the European Union made significant investments in COVID-19 certificates to help people move around as safely as possible during the pandemic.
Translation is, we had certificates to keep you within the cage that we created, even though you couldn't see the walls of it. Sorry, hang on, I'm just interrupting there, hang on.
The European Union's certification system was used by all 27 EU member states and more than 50 other countries. Building on the success of the EU system.
Did that exist before COVID and all of that craziness? Did those,
well, yeah.
I don't know.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, did those systems exist? Because I thought all we had to do when we crossed the border was show our passport. Was there something else you have to do now?
That's the whole idea behind the EU, right? You don't have to show passports anymore from country to country. There's also also sort of shared, rights, which was a recipe for disaster, which is a whole podcast all by itself. That topic in the EU. But the United Nations is just an organization of corrupt countries that cannot survive on their own, so they need to feed off the teat of the successful countries. And while they're taking from these successful countries, they're bashing them at the same time. So it's a useless organization. It's an evil organization. And the day that this organization is nixed, I will celebrate. Of course, that'll never happen because there's too much special interest involved in the United Nations. It's a corrupt organization. And these people at the UN, they all want to be invited to the right parties. They all want to be in the club. And to be in the club, you just have to do a few things. So that's what this is all about. They all want to be in the club.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we keep moving on and I click again, I'll just quickly, as you're saying that, just being a reminder of who the donators are to the World Health Organization. So the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation alone is responsible for over 88% of the total amount donated by philanthropic foundations to the WHO. Other contributions include the Bloomberg Family Foundation, the Wellcome Trust, and the Rockefeller Foundation. So Bill Gates responsible for 88% of it. Man, oh man. All right, let's have a listen to what Mr. Tedros has to say here. Doctor of what? Doctor Evil himself, maybe. Maybe that's his nickname.
WHO is proud today to launch the Global Digital Health Certification Network. So thank you so much to European Union for the excellent certification system that you have transferred to us, and we have the chance to build on it. WHO will begin operations of the network today with the existing COVID-19 certificate as a global public good. Soon after, we will expand this infrastructure by incorporating other use, such as a digitized international certificate of vaccination, routine immunization cards, and international patient summaries.
So he said, just back that up and listen to what he says again very carefully there in case you missed it at the very end of the video there.
Infrastructure by incorporating other use, such as a digitized international certificate of vaccination, routine immunization cards, and international patient summaries.
Okay.
Man, oh man, what do you think when you hear about routine vaccinations? What are you hearing?
Routine. Forget the fact that we had you poke your arm full of stuff that before it was FDA approved, before the experiments were done, before forget all that. It was
forget about COVID altogether. What do they want me to have? That's a routine.
Hey! You got that sensor button all warmed up there, man? You got
Yeah.
you got that beeper ready to go? Because look, I'm going to watch my words carefully, because we have to be careful about certain things that we say that we're not allowed to say, which really grinds my gears all by itself. But we do want to stay on air, so if I use euphemisms, that's why, people. So bear with me here. But this worldwide flu that we had for the past few years, all of the draconian plans that were put in place, none of it was about public health. None of it. It was about control, and these governments, they see it as a beautiful opportunity for a power grab. These international organizations moving toward I got to be careful with this one too, with a one group, global organization. These are really good opportunities to get people to comply to their little programs that will give them more and more power. At some point, now I will confess to you that Rob knows this, we talked about it off air. I spent about 5 hours putting together my presentation on the day today, and Rob told me I couldn't use it because
you went all the way down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, I went all the way
down there. What was at the bottom of the rabbit hole?
Well, it wasn't
Tedros's hairy ass.
It wasn't. It wasn't a message of hope. It was a message of resistance to what's going on. But this whole idea of digital IDs, we can't say that. That's a pretty safe term. Digital IDs, medical passports, anything that requires a permission by some nameless government official in order to live your life. And I was making a point in that video that if I want to go visit Rob in Cronulla, I better do it pretty quickly, unless I want to get some poison shoved into my arm, because they might not allow me unless I can prove that I've done it. So our lives are under control. Everything, look, across the board, right? We have digital IDs. That there's a big push for that across the board. We have the CBDCs coming. Everything is about they want to track every aspect of your life, and they want to control every aspect of your life. In Stasi or Nazi Germany fashion, they're going to be walking in every time you want to do something. They say, "Where are your papers? Where are your papers?" Of course, your papers have to be on your phone, right? Probably. Where's your phone? Where is your phone? Let me see your phone. And if you don't show them the phone, you're not going to be able to buy that chewing gum or whatever it is you want to get. This is the world we're heading toward. And what's really discouraging with that, during that 2.5, 3 year period there, people did comply. That's the frightening part of this. So many people, they wanted to go out and see their friends, so they got that poison in their body, so that they can go out to bars again. They can go to a baseball game again. And if you did not get that poison in your arm, you were excluded and you were shamed. How many celebrities do we come out saying that they cut ties with their friends and their social media if they didn't get the poison in their arm? We had late night commentaries, shaming people who did not want to get that poison in their arms. We had the president of the United States shaming people who disagreed with them. So there was a global effort. So tyranny is an actual real world thing. It's not a quaint term to describe the past. We have tyranny going on right now. And anybody who tries to live a life of true freedom, we're having a harder time doing it. And the only solution is to push back. We all have to remember that these politicians, these powers to be, they work for us. We actually do have all the power. But too many people right now believe the things that they're talking about. As Rob and I are fond of reminding people, that if ever you want to wonder whether a politician is telling you a lie, just look to see whether his lips are moving, and then you know. Don't trust these people. Don't believe anything they say about any subject, because they all have agendas. Okay, I better cut it off there, man, because boy, I'll just go on.
Hey, go and
you got my blood going.
Go back out at the saloon and go and tie your horse up over there. Yeah, get off that high horse for me. No, you got to get it off your chest, you know. And so earlier in the week, I was watching Senator Alex Antic again here in Australia. He was questioning the boss of the health department there, who happened to be over in wherever they were signing the pandemic treaty. And he's like, "Why is Australia signing the pandemic treaty? What powers does it give them?" And the health bureaucrat, idiot liar, who told everyone that the poison that you were going to put in your body was safe, even though there was no verification to say that it was safe. They just trusted, but they didn't verify. That's the mistake that they made at the end of the day. That's what they did. They trusted, but they didn't verify. And he said that, look, they don't have, the WHO will have no power over Australia. And so all they have is the power to make recommendations, and then the various countries that have signed up to the pandemic treaty are all going to say, okay, let's all get together in one room and try and tackle this problem. And that would be good if it was real. But the problem is it's not real. They only created it because they're trying to control you. And if you listen very carefully to what that Dr. Tedros idiot says, he's saying that we've taken the EU model, you've given us the EU model, now we can roll that model out over the whole world. So even though they don't have any legislative power here in Australia, if Australia adopts the EU model of those passports, and those passports include multiple different things, right? So your digital ID will include everything, including your police record. You know, how many times did you get a parking fine or a speeding fine, or were you in trouble for domestic violence or assault, or what? Everything about you will be known the minute that you go and book a ticket to get on a plane to go somewhere. But they're not going to allow you to book a ticket to get on a plane to go somewhere, because you'll only be allowed to fly once every 3 years, according to their green rules. For some reason, it's very strange. So the bureaucrats have had the wool pulled over their eyes, because they think, oh well, it's a good idea in theory that we've got this centralized body where everyone can come together to have a discussion to centralize the thing, but in practice, the reality is you're coming together to centralize the decision making, and you people are not the decision makers. We did not elect you. I didn't elect that health bureaucrat to be there, but he's making decisions on behalf of Australia in the best interest of Australia. But you haven't asked us if that's what we wanted to sign up to. In fact, there's petitions all over the world, and there's thousands and thousands of videos saying, whatever you do, don't let your politicians sign up to the World Health Organization treaty, because that pandemic treaty is now going to be the way that they control everything. And like I said, they're not controlling your country. They don't have any legislative ability or law enforcement ability to do that in your country. But if the country that you're in adopts what it is that they recommend, then by association and default, they've actually implemented their rules and laws onto you. And it's not the actual politicians that are doing it. Once again, we see it plain as day. The politicians are not doing it. The health bureaucrats are doing it. So you don't live in a democracy, you live in a technocracy.
Yep.
And the definition of technocracy is when the engineers and the PhDs and the doctors and the scientists make all of the decisions, and the politicians are the useful idiots that go, oh, is that what you think we should do? That sounds, well, you're the health expert. Well, you're the bridge building expert. You're the engineering expert. Okay, we're going to do that. I'll give you the money and you go and do that. Politicians are just useful idiots in the middle of it all. And these health bureaucrats are the ones that are actually creating the totalitarian society. And unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about it, because they're the deep state. Once this government's gone and some other government's there, they're still there. They've been there for the last 20 years, and they're the ones doing it to us.
You know, for those of you who think that you live in a representative democracy, sorry. I mean, look what happened to the Netherlands. The Netherlands, they're plowing over, soon they're going to be paving over all their farms because of rules and regulations passed down by an unelected authority in Brussels. So
how about what they did in Ireland earlier in the week? That was something that we never discussed, because there's so much madness going on in the world. But if you missed that story, folks, they were talking about getting rid of 200,000 cows because they're the ones that are farting and burping, creating greenhouse gases. And we need to get rid of the cows because they're the ones that are causing the problems. So bye-bye all your dairy products, that yummy butter that you like, that nice cream that goes in your pasta every night, and and your T-bone steaks. Bye-bye. See you later.
Yeah, Kerry butter out of Ireland, my favorite butter in the world. I can't get it now. I can't.
Maybe you should stock up on that. It's better than gold.
The best butter. I tried to, but then someone in California said it had some kind of a chemical, and I thought, God damn it! Every time I find something that I like, someone finds something that is really kind of discouraging. You know, what the freak?
It happened to you today. You had a subject you like. You spent 5 hours on it, and then I went, no. Fun police.
Rob Bruss, the thought police. Rob Bruss, the thought czar. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And these rules are made by unelected officials. The U.S. government is run primarily by the deep state. Okay, it almost doesn't matter who the president is. Do you think it was Joe Biden's decision to shut down the XL pipeline the very day he got inaugurated? Do you think that was really his idea?
I'm not entirely sure that he even knew that he was the president. He thought he was the vice president.
He has other people setting the agenda, and he's just an empty suit that happens to be the guy who has to sign. That's all. He's a useful idiot. That's all he is. And it almost doesn't matter. I mean, in order to get a president that's actually going to make a difference, I hate to say it, but you need someone like Trump, someone who is not a traditional politician, somebody who is willing to break some china in the china shop in order to get things done. That's the only possible way of making a dent in the deep state, in the bureaucracy. The people who really make the decisions are the bureaucrats, people who show up every day. They do a terrible job, but the worse a job they do, the more they get promoted. That's the way the system in America works. And they're agenda driven. They've got ideologies to answer for. And 80-90% of these bureaucrats in government, they're all leftists. They often they have to pass a litmus test in order to be let into the club. That's the way it works. You know, if you have traditional values, or if you believe in the sovereignty of a human being, you're not going to make it in that job. You're not going to get hired in that position inside of the government. So that's why we have to whatever degree we can, do the little things we can do to secure our personal sovereignty. There aren't a lot of them left, but the few things you can do, you have no choice if you value your freedom at all.
I think there's one thing that you can do, that everybody can do, is that you need to pay attention to these little nuanced things. And when you hear about these things, you need to tell people about it. You know, whether you're wearing a T-shirt that says "I resist everything to do with a digital ID," or you're at a barbecue talking to your mates, you really should be telling people about these things. Because I promise you that if you talk to somebody about a digital ID and actually what it means and what they want for you in a 15-minute city, and you can only fly once every 3 years, and you can't have a car, you can't do this, you can't do that, people will be like, what are you talking about? That's not true. Yeah, actually it is true. And they're rolling this out. This is actually happening as I'm talking to you. And there's nothing that you can do about it. And then the normal reaction is someone would say, the Prime Minister would never allow that. Why would he do that to the Australian population? And you're right, he wouldn't. The Prime Minister wouldn't allow it. It's the bureaucrats that are allowing it, and they're recommending it to the Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister doesn't know any better, or the President of your country doesn't know any better, and they just go, oh, okay, cool. Sometimes you hear all these conspiracy theories about a one world G, a one world group, a one world government, whatever you want to say, however you want to call it, right? But and I hear all of that, and I think, yeah, maybe that's true. Like, I look at it and go, yeah, maybe that's what they're trying to do. Yeah, I kind of see it. But really, I just think the politicians here in Australia, and politicians as a rule of thumb, are just, like we said, they're just useful idiots that are only going along with what the technocrats are telling them to actually do. They actually don't know any better. And it's almost like sometimes, I'll go on a slight tangent here for you. In the wedding industry that Susie and I have been in for the last 18, 19 years, whatever it is, what we see sometimes is like really successful businesses. And our photography and videography business does pretty well. But sometimes you see like these really exceptionally successful business, and you look at them and you think, what are they doing differently to me? Like, their website is like not as good as our one. Their social media is not as good. They don't have as many followers, but on the outside, they seem to be really successful. And sometimes people are just in the right place at the right time. They have the right venue. They have the right offer. And it's almost by accident that they're successful. And what I think, drawing the same analogy there, sometimes I look at governments and the reason that they're so incompetent is just because they happen to be there. And the wrong people have failed upwards all the way. They've failed upwards all the way into their positions. So yesterday, let me give you an example of failing upwards. If you think it's not a real thing, it's a very, very real thing, folks. So yesterday, there's a person that we know, my partner and I know, who works for government and has been acting in a given role for 2 years. So the person that they were replacing, they stepped up into that role for 2 years. Then finally, the department got their act together and decided to put the job out proper. This person applied for the job, but somebody else got the job. Now it shows me that how can somebody that's been acting in a job for 2 years apply for a job and somebody who's never done the job before get selected to replace them? And I'm thinking, what bureaucracy are we living in? This, like, the plane of existence that I'm on, you're in a different dimension. You're in a different universe to me. This person's been doing the role for 2 years successfully, never had a negative performance review. No one's ever said they've done the job poorly. Then the job comes up, it's advertised, they apply, and someone else that's never done the job before gets the job. What? It just doesn't make any sense. I don't know how something like that could happen. It's not about bias towards that person who's already in the role that should have the role. They should be appointed to the role to rubber stamp or something like that. Maybe they didn't perform in the interview or something like that. But what's an interview got to do with somebody actually performing in the job for 2 years and proving that they can do it? Very strange.
Well, it's not that strange.
Failing upwards. Government failing upwards.
It's the difference between government and the private sector. A government. Exactly. Inside of government, there is no accountability. Okay, that's how you can fail upward. It doesn't matter how good you are, how competent you are. It matters what your ideology is. Are you part of the club? Are you going to follow the company line? Are you going to follow the party line? That's what it's about. In private industry, meritocracy is everything, because if you don't do your job well, you're going to be replaced by someone who can do that job well. So the difference, that's the key difference. That is, if you have to find one difference between the government and the private sector, that's it. Is meritocracy versus ideology.
No, idiocy.
Idiocy. There you go.
I think is maybe a better one. I could see you searching for the word there. Let me help you out with idiocy. Izzy says there in the comments, Ed, it's comforting to know there are like-minded people. I think she's talking about you, right? She likes the same butter as you and, maybe likes the same controversy as you and me. Isaiah, so I think she's quoting the Bible here. Isaiah said, people will be deaf and blind. And another scripture says, people will be delusional. Well, they're deaf, dumb, blind, and delusional all at once. They can't see, hear, or speak anything. And even though they can't see, hear, or speak anything, they are definitely delusional. I think that is a pretty poignant quote. What do you think?
Okay, well, maybe yes or no. Let me tell you why. So on the one hand, let's take the southern border here in the United States for an example.
What border? There's no border, man.
I know, right?
I'm deaf, dumb, and blind. I need the monkeys. Where are those monkeys?
Exactly. Now, any rational person who believes in rule of law and who's a patriot would say it's a disaster. So, but not if you're a leftist. If you're a leftist, it's a huge success because this is what they wanted. So
it's all perspective, right?
It's all perspective. So what do you mean? Well, if you're Biden, if you're a typical Democrat, for them it's a massive success. So if you're in government and you see that, and your policies are destroying the American farmer, well, most Americans say that's a sign of stupidity and incompetence, but not if it's by design, not if it's on purpose. Look what happened in the Netherlands. Now, me looking at it, I say these guys are idiots, they're fools. But on the other hand, this is by design. They're doing this on purpose. There's a reason this business about cow farts is bullshit. It doesn't make it. That's not why they're doing it. Okay, they have an agenda. They want us all eating bugs. All right, so this is part of their agenda, and they use a ruse that they're looking out for us. That is, it's in our best interest that they're doing these things. That's the story they tell, right? They want you on these government digital IDs because your life is going to be so much more convenient. You can have all of your personal data in one spot. You're not to worry about paperwork anymore. We will store it all for you, and your life is going to be so much better because of it. This is the way they paint the story, right? And they hope that you're too stupid to see otherwise. And unfortunately, in a lot of cases, they're probably right. Most people do not pay attention. They assume, well, if the government says it's a good thing, then it's got to be a good thing, which is dangerous. So whether or not this is incompetence or it's brilliance, it's a matter of perspective. So I'm not sure. Look, Klaus Schwab is the most evil man in the world. I'll take on anyone that argument. I'll make my argument, and I will win. He is the most evil man in the world, and he's done more to diminish the lives of every person on the planet than any other person who's ever lived. Okay. So somebody, well, it's an idiot that they're doing that. It's an idiot that they're doing. He's an idiot for doing that. Well, not if it's on purpose. Not if it's part of an evil design. So
well, that's the perspective, right? One man's freedom fighter is another man's terrorist, and that's really what you're saying. That's the perspective that we're actually seeing. So I'm so glad that you went to the stable this morning and got the high horse out. It was like really good. I haven't seen you on fire like that for ages, man. It's normally me getting riled up, but you're getting a little bit riled up there. Just kind of let's take it down a notch and take a little break. And
all the dogs in the neighborhood really I'm so happy that I'm doing this podcast, and then they're not going to be kicked as much when I go out for a walk.
Hey, you're going to get us cancelled, man, for making a joke. The left doesn't like jokes. All the fun and the humor gets out of here. All right, folks, we're going to take a little break, and want to remind you that today's show is brought to you by you. In this crazy, uncertain world, we all need a way to protect and insulate ourselves from the outside forces that we simply cannot control. I'm a news junkie, and after a lifetime of constantly immersing myself in the darkness and the despair that engulfs the world, the path to shield myself and my family has become crystal clear. I want to invite you to come and join me in the Unspoken Truth community, where I'll show you how I protect my family from this crazy world. You'll get access to 3 masterclasses worth over $1,000, as well as our live events, training, and community of truthers just like you. Come on over to the unspokentruth.com.au and join us for just 50 cents a day. What are you waiting for? Get started now at the unspokentruth.com.au. Well, the time has arrived. I'm coining it. Yeah, it's called the emergence. Yeah. What we're going to do is what's going to happen is there's going to be a spacecraft that lands, and these aliens are going to emerge from it. So I'm calling it the emergence. That's what's happening. And
you should copyright that, man.
There it is.
That sounds like a Netflix series.
The emergence. Yeah. So in the next day, in fact, tomorrow, what's today? Today's the 8th in the US. So on the 10th in the US, we've got Dr. Stephen Greer with his Disclosure 2.0 coming up. So
12th, isn't it?
Oh, the 12th, is it? I thought it was 10, 11, 12. I thought it was over a 3-day thing. I think there's a couple of conferences, and then the main event is on the 12th on Monday, your time.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty sure that's what it was. So we've got Disclosure 2.0 happening, lots of whistleblowers coming out. So make sure you check out Dr. Stephen Greer. Just go and Google that, and you'll see his website, seriousdisclosure.com. Head over there, and you'll be able to find the links to all of that as well. Don't forget, there's a new movie coming out as well called The Lost Century, where he puts together the history of it all and shows you behind the curtain, the unspoken truth, if you like, of what's really been going on with all of this. The $2 trillion hole in the American budget, where's it all gone? It's gone into all of these black projects that the government doesn't even know about. So the task force investigating UAP in the United States government doesn't know about the downed craft that we have. And we know earlier in the week we reported on that. I just want to show the reaction video here. It goes for a minute or two. So let's take a look and just listen very closely to the way the police officer is reacting here, because I think he's the biggest skeptic of all. And he's like, these cops have got like way more important things to do than run around chasing little green men that have fallen from the sky. So you can see that. My view is, I watched it a couple of times, my view is that the police officer is genuine, and there's a bit of giggle factor in there, but he's giggling because he can't believe it's happening, not because it's a hoax. So let's have a look.
It's midnight on May 1st when a Las Vegas Metro police officer's body cam catches this, something flashing low in the sky.
911 emergency.
Minutes later,
there's like an 8-foot person beside it, and another one's inside, and it has big eyes and looking at us, and it's still there.
someone calls 911 reporting two large figures in their backyard.
No, I'm so nervous right now.
The 8 News Now investigators obtaining another officer's video as he's sent to the Northwest Valley home.
I have butterflies, bro. Everyone saw a shooting star, then these people say there's aliens in their backyard.
By now, it's more than an hour after that bright light. Officers meeting up with the caller and his family.
What'd you see?
It was like a big creature.
A big creature?
Yeah, like around 10 feet tall.
I'm not going to BS you guys. One of my partners said they saw something fall out of the sky too, so that's why I'm kind of curious. Did you see anything land in your backyard, or?
They see like a big, that's what they say. They see like a big something with light.
What I saw right now, I do believe in it.
Police walk into the backyard to investigate, but Metro blacked out that part of the video because it's considered private property. What's clear? They're taking this call seriously.
Hey, this might sound like a really dumb question, but did you guys see anything fall out of the sky?
Asking others what they saw.
I would normally discount it as nothing. However, seeing as one of my partners said they saw it too, only reason I'm actually investigating it further.
That investigation turning up no concrete answers as of Wednesday. Whatever or whoever fell into that yard, long gone within minutes.
Oh, hey, if those 9-foot beings come back, don't call us, all right? Deal with it yourself. I ain't dealing with that.
So yeah, this is quite weird, Brian was saying as we're watching this story. Now, we've been in contact with the family in that video, and as you heard in that 911 call, they seem very reasonable and honestly quite scared as you heard them in the call. No, they don't seem impaired in any way. And whatever crashed by the time that police got there was gone, but sources say that there's really no dispute. Something was in their yard. Exactly what?
All right. All right, I shouldn't poke fun of it. Folks, if you look down in the description of this video, I'm going to give you a link, well, I've given you a link already, to a picture. Yeah, and the picture is an exclusive, it's an exclusive photo of the UFO and where it landed. Here, I'll show you the picture. Ready?
Yeah. That's it?
Somebody went out there and drew a circle on the ground and went, yeah, man, that's where the UFO was. Click, they took a photo with their phone and they sent it. And no joke, somebody has reported on that. So part of the problem with this is it has the giggle factor associated with it, right? We've seen plenty of shooting stars and meteors come into the Earth's atmosphere and, you know, they burn up into different colors. I've seen green ones, I've seen blue ones, I've seen all sorts of different ones that have actually happened. I've seen things come in at scale, because where I live here, right on the coast, sometimes on a really, really dark night with no moon, you can see satellites, you can see the space station, you can see all sorts of things, right? Because it's so dark where we are. And I've seen a shooting star and meteor so big that, you know, I'm almost going to do the duck and cover drill, because that's what a nuke would look like if it was coming at us. And I've seen these things break up into the atmosphere at what seems like low level. And so what you're seeing there in that particular one is it's coming down, and the reason it's so bright is because it's lower in the atmosphere, right? And that's what happens. So when you see the streak across the sky, it's high up in the atmosphere and it's skimming across the top of it. But when it's coming down into the atmosphere, that's when you're seeing the colored versions of them like that. And we've all seen footage. There's famous footage of a meteorite in Russia, and it's in Siberia, and these people are driving along in their car, and it goes shh, and it flies across the sky in daytime, and then it hits the ground, and like boom, it's like a big nuke that goes off because the force of what's actually happening, you know. So it's a common occurrence that you see these things, but it's not such a common occurrence when somebody says there's people in the backyard or really big figures in the backyard. I don't know. Is this the emergence that we're seeing, or is this just being something that's in the news because of what's happened in the last week? I don't know.
Well, I feel very confident in predicting that we are going to see a lot more of these stories.
Here it comes.
Especially after next Monday, these stories are going to be a dime a dozen.
Everywhere.
They're going to be everywhere. And I don't believe any of it.
Oh, you're the skeptic.
I'm skeptic. Not even David Grush, who came out, the big, he seems like a reasonable guy, and he seems like he knows what he's talking about. But all of his evidence is hearsay. I've talked.
Yeah, it's all third party. I reread that story and re-looked at it a couple of different ways, and yeah, he's saying that I had somebody tell me that somebody said that somebody had, and it's like, yeah, that's awesome, man. I know that stuff too. Like, so.
Yeah. So I want to see actual green corpses or something. I want to see something. Otherwise, until that happens, I think this is I'm going to remain skeptical. I'll try to stay open-minded, but
look at you trusting but verifying.
Yeah.
Well done. You listened to Ronnie Reagan. His advice was
that's
like
right.
it was good. Look, I think the amount of evidence that's out there that there is aliens is overwhelming. The sightings and the video footage, and it's the rabbit hole.
What evidence?
Oh, there's so much, man.
It's all circumstantial.
Not really. What about the Stingray craft that was flying in Costa Rica just a couple of weeks ago? That was really, this is a couple of months ago. That's irrefutable evidence that these things exist.
It's irrefutable. Have you seen it?
You couldn't fake it. How would you fake it? I don't know. Some of those Marvel movies look pretty real. Transformers comes out tomorrow. That looks pretty real.
Yeah, case closed. Yeah. Listen, when the B-2 bomber was first revealed, people couldn't believe what they were seeing. And of course,
same as F-117. Remember that? Same thing.
Yeah. And then a lot of people said, "Oh, so that's what I saw." It answered a lot of questions. So I don't know until I've seen, in the light of day, whatever it is, this thing you saw in, where is it, Argentina?
Costa Rica.
Costa Rica. And until we see the actual thing, it could just been, some I don't know, parachute glider guy who was mistaken in a grainy picture or something. It was in the wrong angle. I don't know.
You can explain a lot of it away for sure.
Yeah,
Look, there's no question about that.
Well, so come on, show me. Listen, these stories have been around, ever since I was a kid, at least, 50 years. World War, it all kind of really started with the Foo Fighters in World War II, right? That really kind of kicked off, that whole industry, and Hollywood's been all over that industry. But
yeah, kind of, I'll push back on that a little bit. In the modern kind of lexicon, if you like, or the modern consciousness, for sure. Once we started dropping A-bombs, that's actually when it started to appear on a more frequent basis, right? But if you look back historically, there's literally thousands of sightings through all sorts of different history. There's carvings, there's pictures, there's paintings, there's all sorts of stuff that's there, and there's a lot of, to your skeptical mind there's a lot of inferences that you can join. I always laugh when I say to somebody, "Have you ever watched that show, Ancient Aliens?" And they're like, "Oh fuck, are you kidding me, Rob?" But occasionally somebody goes, "No, I've never seen that. What's that about? That sounds really interesting." And it's like, here's how I describe Ancient Aliens to somebody, all 13 seasons of whatever it is like that. If you didn't believe in aliens before, by the end of the first episode, you will be absolutely convinced of that they're real. And it's just that TV show is just a masterpiece of swaying you from the skeptic to the, well, maybe that is true. Like, I can't explain that. I don't know if that's true or that's not true. I think to your point, what you've got to do is keep an open mind. It could be true.
It could be true. Okay, so what's the downside of not believing in the stuff? Well, listen.
You'll end up like Fox Mulder, all sad and depressed, man.
You
want to be happy like Scully.
Listen, and you and I were talking about this off camera. I'll go ahead and share it with the group here. Listen, if we get to the point where it enters the zeitgeist that is true. Not just clever guys inventing these things, but it's actual non-human technology that came from another world. Okay, if that is true, if we get to the point where people collectively believe that, there are going to be fucking runs on the bank, man. You better keep your money. Okay,
he's tied it back to the financial collapse. You can't resist.
There you go. People are going to be panicking, man. People are going to be panicking. I promise you. There are going to be runs on the bank. People are going to be quitting their jobs. People are going to be buying as much gold and silver as they can.
Are you sure? I don't know, man. Like, come down this little rabbit hole with me just for a second, right?
Okay.
Because we're nowhere near a high horse. This is kind of fun to talk about on a Friday for me. Like, I think if that guy was credible earlier in the week saying that, we do have crashed spacecraft, we've got the technology, and Dr. Greer comes out in the next couple of days and says, here it all is, here's the whistleblowers, here's the proof, they tell you all this stuff, right? And you're sitting there in Minnesota, I'm sitting here in Sydney, and we just go, okay, cool, they're real. So, what did you think was going to happen? We live in a universe that's apparently 13 billion years old, according to some egghead scientist that tells me that that's true. I don't know if that's true. They're smarter than me. Apparently it is. Apparently planet Earth is 4 billion years old. So the difference between 4 and 13 is 9. That means there's 9 billion years of universe that existed before planet Earth existed. There may be civilizations out there in the infinite vastness of space that are literally 9 billion years more advanced than us. Who knows? Like, it seems like a plausible hypothesis, and if it does come to be true in the next couple of days and all the evidence is irrefutable, it comes out, you'll just be like, okay, cool, so what, man? It's not until, this is the thing, it's not until that technology that they have, which is far more advanced than ours, actually affects you that you'll pay attention to it. Beyond that, you'll just go, little green men, little greys, whatever, who cares? Doesn't affect me. But if their technology starts to affect you, then you'll pay attention to it. And that's the Stephen Greer philosophy, right? Is anti-gravity technology has been mastered, the zero-point energy has been mastered, and all of that has been hidden from us because the people that control the world control the oil, and they control every aspect of the world as it relates to energy, and free energy would change the world.
Yeah. Well, listen, just because this argument, it grinds my gears a little bit. Just because the universe is X number of billions of years old and we're only 4 billion years old, that means that it's a foregone conclusion that there must be other intelligent life out there. Not necessarily. Do you know what kind of a miracle it was to create just the right amount of conditions for life to develop here?
Just think of you as a human, right? It's a miracle that you even exist as a human being. Never mind the vastness of where we are in this simulation that we're in.
Yeah, and just because life evolved this way here on Earth over 4 billion years, that doesn't mean that over 100 billion years, it had to evolve the same way over there. Yeah, in theory, someone could say, well, yeah, they could be much more advanced. Okay, I'll give you that. But it's not a foregone conclusion that it has to necessarily be the case that there are more advanced societies out there. No, that's not necessarily true.
On that point, I read a book many years ago. It must have been about 10 or 15 years ago, called Other Minds, and it's about the animal that is the furthest away from human beings on the human tree. So on the evolutionary tree. So you know how like we possess 98% same DNA or chromosomes as a chimpanzee or whatever that shit is, right? I don't know the exact details. But then, you can see how that is connected to a cat, which is connected to this. It's connected. So all of the animals and insects and creatures on planet Earth. The thing that's the furthest away from us, do you know what it is? You would have heard this before when I say it.
Furthest away from us.
On the evolutionary tree, the thing that's the most distant from us.
Rachel Maddow.
Yes. You're bang on there. No, it's an octopus, right?
Okay.
So an octopus is like a super hyper ultra intelligent being, but it's the furthest away from us on the evolutionary tree. And the author of that book kind of joins all the dots for you with the biology, and I can't remember the exact details of it, right? Because it was a long time that I read that book. But the reason that I remember it is that one of the things that he says in that book is that if you could imagine what aliens would be like, would you ever imagine an alien to be an octopus type creature? And you think, well, no, I never thought aliens would be octopus. I think that they would, have 2 arms and 2 legs like us, and they'd have eyes and brains, and they've evolved the same way as we have. But when you look at the way that octopuses have evolved over eons of time and the evolutionary history of all of that, they've evolved in a completely different way to the way that we have. First of all, they live in the water. And second of all, the way that their body works is different to ours. They've got 8 arms and legs. We've got 2 arms and 2 legs. They've got 8 of them. So to your point, Ed, just because the universe is much older and there's other evolutionary things that may have happened in those places, it doesn't mean it's happened the same way as it's happened here on planet Earth. I really like the subject, right? Because it takes your mind to a place that you're forced to think.
And octopi are supposed to be pretty intelligent creatures, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and they taste really good. They make really good sushi.
That's so cruel, man. They're such beautiful creatures. I see octopus out here all the time when I'm spearfishing.
I bet you do.
Yeah. Some big ones too, right? I hold them in your hand, and it's like kind of like he's got his tentacles wrapped around my arm and stuff like that, holding onto him and that.
Wow, cool.
So they're always in the shallow water. Always see them in there's a place where I'm spearfishing out here, and as I'm getting out, there's like a little bit of swell, and sometimes there's no swell there, and it's like probably, I don't know, 12 inches deep, only a foot deep, and it's just easier to swim and pull yourself along the bottom than it is to stand up because you can't see, and you're going to twist your ankle when you're going, so it's easier to swim. And as I'm swimming along, I'm always looking out, oh, look, there's one, pull him out of there and like give him a pat, and they will change in colours and stuff like that. Incredible creatures.
Cool. Wow.
And never ever shoot something like that with a speaker. Never.
Yeah, but as intelligent as they are,
they're pretty yummy.
We eat them. Yeah, exactly. So take that. So this is our answer to the aliens. Yeah, bring them on. I'm hungry. No, listen. Humans, they fear what they don't understand. Right. This is why I have this hypothesis, because if there is some kind of actual definitive proof where people can't deny it anymore. And look, people are naturally skeptical. It's going to take a while. The event that they're having over the next 3 days on Monday is not going to be like all of a sudden everyone's going to be convinced. I don't think that's going to happen. It might be pretty convincing, and it might be a really good start. And over the next short period of time, other actual evidence might follow from this. Maybe people will say, all right, I feel free to talk about this now. I feel free to show this this spacecraft that I found in my farm field with a big S on it 40 years ago, and inside of it there's an old rag with the S on. Maybe I'm willing to come forward now and share. So things could come from this that could lead. So if over the course of a short period of time, the general consensus by the world population is, okay, that is going to be the biggest news of humankind. That'll be the biggest news. I mean, it'll dwarf any other development in human development ever, right? It's going to be the biggest story.
I hope you're right. I feel like we're in an episode of the movie Don't Look Up. Have you seen that movie?
No.
So it's a movie about an asteroid is coming to planet Earth, and it's going to hit Earth, and it's actually going to happen. And there's a bunch of people that are like, that's not real. It's a conspiracy. Don't look up. That's what they say. It's actually a really good movie. It's almost a parody of COVID in some ways, but at a global scale, it's going to destroy the Earth. So spoiler alert, the asteroid hits the Earth and destroys everybody.
I've got to get Netflix. You keep quoting all these really good movies to me, and I've never.
You'd really like them.
I don't have Netflix.
We've got to get you on Twitter first. That's step one. Yeah.
What's the Twitter? Yeah, that's right. I got to get it. So my hypothesis is that when it reaches that little pivot point where people do believe it, people are going to be frightened because they're not going to know what to make of it, and people are afraid of what they don't understand, and so you're going to have people quitting their jobs. You're going to have people getting their money out of the bank. And of course, that's garbage. So they're going to be buying gold and silver right away. I tell you, this is what's going to happen. Now the so so our mantra,
Get your money out of the bank, get some gold and silver, and create some passive income. But when the aliens come, you're going to need to be able to do that because you're not working, because you're running.
That's right. Look, the value of gold and silver could go up 1,000x in that kind of a scenario. So, but what's probably going to be more valuable is a source of clean, fresh water.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, come early next week, we're going to have some more information that we haven't had before with the Disclosure 2.0. So looking forward to seeing this. I want to take us to the end of the show here, just shift gears here and talk about some Biden corruption. So we're talking about headlines, and aliens is a fun topic to talk about. That's definitely a headline. This is something maybe a little bit drier and not so exciting, but I think it's worthwhile talking about on the Unspoken Truth, because for us, it's all about pulling back the curtain on what's really going on. So I'm going to start off with a little quick report here from just a couple of days ago, where they said that they've got a bunch of whistleblower information, and then I'll close it out with Marjorie Taylor Greene saying what she found in that document. So let's take a look.
Confirmed that the unclassified FBI-generated record has not been disproven and is currently being used in an ongoing investigation. The confidential human source who provided information about then Vice President Biden being involved in a criminal bribery scheme is a trusted, highly credible informant who has been used by the FBI for over 10 years and has been paid over 6 figures.
So we're saying here that we've got a report. It's a credible source. This is who it is. And he's saying that it's credible because the FBI is paying them. They've been using them for a long time. So it's legit. We believe what they say. So Marjorie Taylor Greene had a look at that information. So that was from, I want to say, 3 days ago. And she had a checkers. And this is what she said earlier today in the press conference. So I just fast forwarded it a little bit because the front end of it's a bit of kind of waffle.
The owner of Burisma said that Hunter was stupid and that his other business partner was smart. He also said that he paid $5 million to one Biden and he paid $5 million to another Biden.
So just to be clear, folks, Marjorie Taylor Greene got access to that whistleblower document, read it in a skiff, came out and made notes about it. So that's the first bit there, and that's her just explaining it. So just summarizing for you. And these are her findings from what she read.
And it was all a bribery to get Shokin fired and end the investigation into Burisma. He also told the informant this is common practice in Russia and Ukraine. It's common practice. It's part of business there. That's how their culture works, that they will pay bribery money in order to get business deals done. And that many businesses, they take that into account. They put it in their budget, basically, when they're preparing to buy another company or start another company, that's just normal. And so over in Ukraine, for them to consider hiring Hunter Biden on the board in order to make their problems go away, which was the prosecutor Shokin, who was investigating Burisma for corruption and legal problems. This was definitely illegal for a vice president of the United States and their family members.
So just pull back the thread on what she said there. It's very damning. Hopefully she's got the evidence there, or she's got the report, and then they can just dig into the bank records to find the evidence. And they've said that already, right? So they're paying the prosecutor to stop investigating Burisma. And the people that were sorting that out was Hunter Biden and Joe Biden. And we've got Joe Biden on camera saying, I'm not leaving until that guy's fired, otherwise you're not getting your $1 billion worth of funding. Is that your recollection of it? Are you joining the dots there the same as me, Ed?
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, let's see what Marjorie says to finish off.
The informant had asked the owner of Burisma if he was happy that Trump won, and he said no, he was not happy. Remember, he had invested a lot of money into the Bidens to make his problems go away. But he did say that it would take 10 years for all of us to find out the payments made to the Bidens because of how many bank accounts there were. He said at the time there were no direct payments made to the big guy, but in a meeting later, after he had become more upset as things were unfolding, he told the informant that he has 2 pieces of evidence showing proof of payment to Hunter and specifically Joe Biden. You see, I think what everyone needs to understand is that business owners, at least the most smart ones, whether they're good or bad, whether they perform their business in a legal manner or a corrupt manner, they always keep records of their business payments, accounts and receivables. That's how it's done. And this owner of Burisma kept a record, especially of the bribes. And if you're in an industry where you have to pay bribes to get your business deals done, then you always want to keep a record and keep proof of your bribes, because that's how you make sure you get people to follow through on what they're done with. What I read today is again shocking. Just as what I read in the Treasury Department with all the SARS report is shocking. But we are going to continue following this investigation. We're going to continue to look into every single thing.
All right, that's pretty much all she has to say about that. Man, oh man, if that's actually true, but just pick on what she said there, just pull the thread on what she said. She said that they kept records. And the reason they kept records is because all businesses keep records, incoming, outgoing, whatever. But more importantly, because I want to show history that I paid you and now you need to do me that favor. Now, come on, this is what this whole thing is about. But she didn't say that she had the records. All she said was the whistleblower knew that they'd kept the records about that and that there was no chance that they would find that because it would take 10 years to find it. So she didn't have conclusive evidence. She didn't have a smoking gun. All she had was a little bit like that alien whistleblower guy who's saying, oh, I was talking to this guy who told me he worked with this other fella who saw this alien spacecraft and worked on it. Like, that's really what she's saying.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that she's doing this and staying on top of it, along with a few others who are doing it. That's good. But nothing is ever going to come of this.
Oh, really? You don't think anything will happen?
No,
what if they find those records? What if she is correct and they do find those records?
Because nothing will come of it. Because just like the Clintons, the Bidens are part of a protected class. Yeah, they are protected. You need the FBI to actually take an active interest in it, and they're going to pawn it off on. Yeah, well, it doesn't rise to the level of proper investigation.
I was going to say, how do you think they'll do that? There it is. Yeah.
Yeah. But they have their little phrases, or they'll just drag their feet until the next guy gets into office, or they're just.
What about Hunter Biden though? Like Hunter Biden had purchased a firearm and made a false declaration on the form because he bought it legally, saying that he wasn't taking drugs. But then there was pictures of him smoking crack at the time that he'd purchased that firearm. So he lied on that form, which apparently is a felony, but nobody has picked him up or, said that you're going to jail because of that.
Yeah. See, with Hunter, there's so much low-lying fruit that they could go after him for. That's easy to prove. Yeah, he had a gun illegally. He smoked crack. There are a lot of things that are easy to prove, and they can easily get him for without even touching the dad stuff. But here's the thing.
The worst part about what he did?
Sleeping with his brother's wife.
Yeah, that's pretty awful. But worse than that is the human trafficking, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, trafficking people across state lines and country borders for prostitution, which is completely illegal. So Hunter Biden is a human trafficker. And so if his dad knew by association that he had a drug problem and he was getting involved in all of these things, it'd be impossible for his old man not to know about that stuff. He knew about it, so he knew that his son was trafficking humans. By association, you're guilty, man. If you tell me about a crime that you committed, or I knew about a crime that you committed and I didn't report it, then I'm considered an accessory to that crime.
Hunter Biden is a walking encyclopedia of criminal activity. Okay.
Of what not to do.
Of what not to do. Yeah.
Don't take drugs, folks.
The thing is, nothing's going to happen to him either. And
nothing? No, you're calling it. I'm calling the emergence. You're calling nothing on Biden corruption.
Nothing on Biden corruption. And there's reason because he knows stuff about his dad. And the last thing they want to do is put him in a position where he wants to start wheeling and dealing. Hey, I got some information on my dad. Can I cut a deal on my sentence in order to, if they don't want to take that chance. And just like Epstein, it turns out knows everyone. And the guy kept a freaking diary, and nothing's happening to any of these people because these people are protected. They're not going to go after any of these PDs, we'll call them, because they want to avoid that word. I'll take a page out of redacted for that. We don't want to use that word. But they're not going to go after these PDs because they're all part of that protected circle. And if you go after one, it could unravel.
It's a strange satanic world that we live in, isn't it?
Yeah, and these people look after. So there's a certain cadre, a certain class of people that have to be protected by the deep state, because if those people were to fall, that would be an existential threat to the deep state itself, because the web gets really wide really fast. And for those of you who think that Epstein killed himself in a cell where no one else have ever been able to kill themselves before in history, I don't know.
And the guards were snoozing.
Yeah.
What a load of garbage. Like, come up with a better story at least. Come up with something else.
You would think they could have thought of something, right? I don't know.
It reminds me of Sean Connery in The Hunt for Red October, and remember the communist commissar officer that's on the submarine with him is in his cabin, and Sean Connery strangles him and kills him, and he comes out and where is he? What happened to him? He slipped on his tea. He
slipped on the tea, yeah.
He didn't slip on his tea, you fucking idiot. That's like the dumbest bloody story ever. Like,
yeah, but he's Sean Connery. You gotta believe it.
And he was the captain. All right, Captain, if you say so. Oh, that's funny. We're going to have to use that analogy. He slipped on his tea.
Yeah, I like that.
I like that as well. All right, so you're calling it nothing's happening to Hunter and nothing's happening to the big guy?
No.
Nothing?
No.
Wow, that's a big call, man. That's a big call. Here in New South Wales, I've been meaning to do this. I might do this over the weekend, is I'll show you how the last 4 or 5 premiers here of New South Wales, so equivalent to your governor, have been let go because they've been found corrupt by the Independent Commission Against Corruption. So ICAC here in New South Wales has no actual authority. What they do is they investigate, and if they find corruption, they hand that over to the cops. And what had happened is these New South Wales premiers had been consistently found to be corrupt, and before they were investigated by the police, they resigned. But the police still haven't investigated them, but they were found to be corrupt. So I don't know. One of these things is not like the other, and these people continuously get away with it. So if you think corruption is not a real thing, and political corruption, horse trading, and all this bullshit is not real, it's real.
Or maybe all those things are like the others.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Just not in our universe, in our plane of our lowly plane of existence, all the way down here as normal people. Something like that. It's very strange. Very strange indeed. Well, Ed, that brings us to the end of another show. That was an absolute doozy. I really enjoyed that. Thank you for bringing the high horse along today. It was good to see you winding up and having a little bit of fun with that. Ladies and gentlemen, if this is your first time here at The Unspoken Truth, thanks for joining us. Thanks for sticking with us. Thanks for joining the live. Don't forget we're available as a podcast. Come on over to Telegram and have a look over there. Watch out for those war crime videos. And make sure you come on over to Twitter and follow us as well. Ed, have you got any closing remarks before we get out here, mate?
Just thanks for visiting. Please leave comments along the way if you want. And if you left a message and we didn't comment on, I think we caught most of the people in the Prizzy joined us. Hey, Prizzy.
We got Prizzy, we got Izzy, and thanks for joining us. It was nice to have some interaction there and some comments. It was really good. All right, let's get out of here. We'll see everybody tomorrow. Same bat time.
Same bat channel.
See you, folks. Bye for now.